sexually rejected by your partner over and over and you're just not sure how to handle the feeling of being rejected, let me give you some advice. Hey guys, I'm Stephanie Ganowski, sexologist and sex coach for men. If you're new to my channel, welcome. And if you've been subscribed, welcome back. So sexual rejection sucks, especially by your partner who you've been with for maybe years. Maybe it's the beginning of your relationship and you're like, I shouldn't be sexually rejected at this point. It's humiliating, it's embarrassing, it's shameful. There's this feeling of I want to just crawl away and hide, right? And if there's any part of you that is confident, rejection can eat up that confidence pretty quickly. And then you probably think to yourself, I know I'm supposed to be confident, sexy, this great vibe guy who makes her want me, but how do I be that guy when I'm constantly being rejected sexually? Like, how do I get to this place when I'm just getting more and more resentful of her for saying no to me every single time? So my answer to you is this. You do 3 things. I'm gonna take you through each one. The first thing you do is you talk with your partner to get an understanding of why the rejection is there and where it's coming from. You must talk with her to understand why there is sexual rejection. What is it? It most likely will be around attraction. And that will make this conversation not very fun to have. It may be painful, it may make you angry, it may make you feel insecure, maybe less of a man, right? So it's not something that's gonna excite you to have when it comes to this conversation, but I'm telling you, it is so, so necessary, because what it will do is provide you answers that will help you understand what is it about the current phase in life that's making her unattracted to you, and what are the things that make her a little attracted to you, but maybe not enough to say yes to sex. So you want to say to her, love, I want to ask you a difficult question, and it's not something I necessarily want to ask, and it's not necessarily an answer I want to hear back, but it's important for our relationship, and I really need to know, are you sexually attracted to me? And if not, why is that? What has changed from the beginning of our relationship till now? And also, are there any things that I am currently doing that do stimulate some attraction? And you want to have an understanding of what those 2 things are. What is she not attracted to when it comes to your behaviors, current lifestyle, way of communicating and treating her? And what is it that's still there in terms of attraction that maybe you can be more mindful of and be like, oh wow, I didn't think she was attracted to me or had desire for me when I do or say or be those things. So this number 1, the conversation, is getting a ballpark understanding of what's going on in terms of the lack of sexual desire and what are things that kind of help sexual desire that I have going for me at this current state. Now that you have that information, you're moving on to step 2. And step 2 is you come up with a plan together to be affectionate towards one another without the expectation of sex. If you haven't had sex for years, you're not gonna go from not having sex for years to having one conversation that's probably gonna be severely emotional, and then all of a sudden you guys are having sex. That's very unlikely, so let's get rid of that expectation. What we wanna do expect is that you talk these issues through and that your partner's willing to talk to you about this, to give you the information you need, regardless of how emotionally painful it is for either of you to share or to receive that information. So now in step 2, you can come up with a plan to be affectionate with one another. What can that affection look like right now in a way that you both can be consistent with? It's not at the level of sex, because we can't go from 0 to 100. It doesn't make sense and it's not sustainable. If you tried that with anything in life, you know that you can't go 0 to 100. You have to have an understanding of what are the baby steps I could take now in terms of affection and showcasing attraction and working on our attraction to each other that makes sense for both of us in a consistent, sustainable way. So this could look like you both coming up with a plan to hold hands whenever you walk somewhere together, right? It could be you kiss each other whenever one of you leaves the house. For whatever reason, you give each other a 3 to 6 second kiss. None of these, come on, make it a kiss, make it an actual kiss. Maybe you start leaving each other post-it love notes. This is a quick, fun, easy idea. It can build a lot of likability for each other again. It could build attraction. You could be silly, it could be playful, or it could be a little sexy and romantic. Maybe it's prioritizing date night again and having one date night a week where you fell out of the habit of doing that. These are all ways to build affection for each other on a more consistent basis. Maybe you just pick 3 together that you're mindful of so that you're both working on engaging in this affectionate way so that sex does become more of a natural part in your relationship. And now we're at step 3. So you've talked to your partner to get an understanding of what it was that makes her sexually reject you, what it is that makes her desire you. And step 2 was coming up with a plan together of how can you create tiny bits of desire through consistent affection. You came up with some rules together of what you're gonna both take action on. Step number 3 is more a rule you do on your own. It's you being aware of what you can control when it comes to your attractive qualities and your not so attractive qualities. And look, as I say this, I want you to keep in mind that you wanna change because it makes you feel good to change. You don't want to become this more attractive guy and stop certain things just for the sake of pleasing your partner. If you're doing it out of spite, you will resent your partner and you won't end up having sex because you'll feel that resentment will come through and it's not healthy for either of you. So any changes you make, do them because you want to do them. For you. So maybe one of the things she says that kills desire and is not attractive is the fact that you are constantly complaining about work. You complain about work on a daily basis. And look, you're a human, you're allowed to complain about stuff. But think about it, if you're complaining about something every day and it's over and over, it's so consistent, that doesn't make anyone attractive, right? Like, you gotta admit, that's probably not your most attractive quality. Like, you wouldn't tell people this is what makes me sexiest when I complain about work. So if you can see the truth behind this, you can have an understanding of how you could be more mindful of that and be like, you know what, I have been complaining a bit, more than I'd like to. I'm gonna cut back on that because I don't wanna be a guy who complains. That's just not who I wanna be. And I can share personally with you, I've been dealing with a lot of health stuff over the last year, and I will admit, I was complaining a lot about my health stuff, about my body. I was feeling really insecure about my body and talking down to myself. And my boyfriend let me know that that was not sexually appealing, that he loves me, but he was having a hard time desiring me when I was acting in that way. Was that easy to hear from him? No, it sucked. It was terrible. It was seriously the last kind of discussion I wanted to have with him. It brought up so much insecurity. I was like, what? I have every right to complain about this. I'm in pain, blah, blah, blah. But the more I talk about it, the more I'm like, okay, but yeah, I can do that and he's accepting of me doing it, but I can't force him to be sexually attracted to me if that's a constant in my communication. I've been through this too. I get what it feels like. How I looked at this was also, I don't want to be a woman who feels insecure about her body. I don't want to be a woman who complains. Even if she is in pain, I don't want to be a woman who's constantly complaining about it. I want to be a woman who does something about it so I can get out of that state of complaining and get out of that pain. So after that very difficult conversation for me, I did become more mindful of complaining, and I would catch myself and I would start going down the rabbit hole and I would be like, oh, no, that's not what I want, and I would change the way I spoke. And sometimes it wasn't even, my boyfriend wasn't even in the room. I was doing it for me because I realized I don't want to be that woman. So that's why this is a great opportunity for you to do this for you too. And it should really stem from you doing this for you, not your partner. Your partner is the one helping you see your blind spots. Your partner is the person that helps you become aware. When things don't feel right or they're not working, sex isn't a natural part of your romantic relationship in the way that you would like it to be, then that means something's off. And your partner is the person who should be helping you understand why it's off and how it can get back on. So that's what this whole thing is about. It's not about doing whatever your partner says. It's about understanding why your partner's actions are the way they are and helping you understand yourself a bit more so you can make changes that you want to make for the better of you. So to recap, the first part of part 3 is you want to be mindful of whenever you're doing things that are on that not attractive side, right? So if she tells you it's unattractive when you complain about work constantly, then the next time you start complaining about it, you're going to be like, oh shit, here I go again. I'm doing it. Like, it's going to become sort of like this game of like, wow, I didn't realize I did it this much. And with that mindfulness over time, you will do it less and less. And now we go to the better, more fun part, which is the parts of you that are attractive and that do create desire for your partner. Now, she might have shared with you, it's a turn on for me when you go on your runs and you're all sweaty when you come back. And maybe it's not a turn on enough for her to be turned on to sex, but it's still a turn on. So that's something you can work with, and you might not even have realized that that was something that created some desire. And that alone might help you go on more runs. Or when you do go on runs, it will feel a lot better. You'll feel better about yourself going on runs, whether she's gonna do anything or not. Or maybe she told you that it's a turn on when you go out to eat together and you put your phone away and you never look at your phone. Maybe that's something you would never think twice about, where you're like, wow, I didn't think that would be a turn on or a point for creating some more desire. But now that you know, you're gonna feel a lot more confident when you put your phone down and when you're focused on her. It's gonna make you feel like you're headed in the right direction. See how step 3 is all about you being mindful about the controllable and what you want to control and what you want to change for the best of yourself when it comes to what's attractive about you and maybe what's not so attractive about you. Lastly, keep in mind that having this conversation and taking these steps requires patience. It takes time. This isn't something where you're like, oh, we had the conversation last week and we didn't have sex yet, or I didn't get a blowjob yet. Chances are that's not going to happen, and that's not the intention of this. The intention here is to build consistent, sustainable affection to the point where sex actually makes sense in the relationship. And trust me, when you have this conversation and you both take part in taking the affectionate actions, when you do it more and more, it's going to feel like all these little wins of affection, and you will not feel as much rejection. You will start feeling more confidence. You will start feeling more love. You will start feeling more acceptance. You will feel sexier. You will feel more of a man because you're taking action on something that you had to work to get. All of you men especially really appreciate working hard for something and getting a reward as the outcome. This is one of those things. And I know it doesn't feel great right now to be stuck in the rejection, but when you take the hard steps and you are consistent through, it will take you to an outcome that you deserve. And you'll feel so much more confident moving forward and handling hard decisions within your relationship, especially because you did this. You handled one of the hardest, most difficult conversations and decisions within a relationship. You can do this. I believe in you. I know it's not easy, but you can do this. Understand it's not going to feel great in the beginning, and that's okay. It's not supposed to. You're just getting the information. Talk to your partner about the plan so that you have actions. Take the actions and start feeling more and more connected, trustworthy, and affectionate and desirable as a partnership. You could do it. You got this.